In this video, I'll be talking about the coronavirus mental health crisis and what we can do to overcome. Don't turn away because that starts right now. Hey! Howdy! Thanks for learning about MS with me, Aaron Boster. I'm the founder of the Boster Center for Multiple Sclerosis, where we care for families impacted by MS from around the globe, both on telemedicine and in the office. We accept all major insurance carriers, and we're currently actively enrolling for clinical trials. In today's video, I want to talk to you about the coronavirus mental health crisis. That's right, there is a global viral pandemic, but in addition, there is a global mental health crisis right now. I'm a practicing MS neurologist caring for families impacted by MS, and I can tell you that in the last decade and a half of taking care of folks with MS, I have never seen such a high incidence of depression, anxiety, and stress impacting people's lives than I have since last March. Quite literally, I have treated more depression, I have treated more anxiety than I ever have before. I also want to point out that I have seen a massive uptake in pseudobulbar affect and in OCD behavior. I have seen a massive uptake in alcohol consumption. More people that I take care of have stopped exercising, not because they want to, but because they're not able to go to their gyms. I have seen more people lose their jobs, and unfortunately, I have seen more relationships dissolve. It's also my opinion that we as a culture lack the language to describe what we're all experiencing. I have treated more MS attacks, and I have seen more of an uptick of baseline neurological symptoms in my patients in this last summer than I've ever seen in my entire career. This is real. We have to acknowledge that it's real, and there are things that we can do to combat it. And so that's what I would like to talk to you about today, what we can do to combat this coronavirus mental health crisis. So let's jump in. Now think about this. People impacted by MS are twice as likely to experience a bout of depression or anxiety compared to the general population. We need to add on top of that there's a global viral pandemic with this looming fear of a severe infection for yourself or your loved ones, and that creates a level of anxiety, as I've mentioned, that I don't even think we have language to describe. We add on top of that the fallout of the precautions that we have to take. People have lost their jobs. People aren't able to go to the community center or to the picnic or to the gym. We're, in some cases, trapped at home in a way that we've never been before. Add on top of that the stressors of winter. I'm in sunny Columbus, Ohio, and it's getting really cold outside, and pretty soon we're going to wake up to the dark, and we're going to go to bed and it'll be dark, and it'll be freezing cold, and that plays on our psyche as well. My point here is there is no shame in acknowledging that we're struggling with mental health, and there are plenty of legit reasons why that's the case. So I don't want you to think that you're by yourself, because you're not. I spend day in and day out, 5 or 6 days weekly, talking and helping families impacted by MS. And I can tell you with some degree of authority that you are not alone, and that many people are dealing with the exact same thing. So let's talk about 10 things that we can do to up our mental health game and help us manage and cope with this mental health crisis. Number 1 is to eat 3 squares a day. Now, don't say, Aaron, you're being dumb. I'm being serious here. I challenge you to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And there's good evidence that keeping glucose levels and keeping insulin levels solid is going to help get you through your day, and it will help. So that's number 2 is to make sure that you're adequately hydrating. I talk about this a lot because it's really important. And I want you to have a glass of water with each meal and a glass of water between each meal. And that's going to get it done. Number 3, I think that we need to be drinking alcohol in moderation, if at all. It's way too easy when we're trapped in our house with a global viral pandemic and we can't go out and it's freezing outside just to drink a little bit. But that has a downstream effect that can be really negative, and I just want to call attention to that. Number 4 is to go for a walk and get some exercise. Exercise is an antidepressant. Exercise is an awesome stress management technique, And exercise is something that we did pre-COVID-19, oftentimes out of the house, at a gym, at a class, and now we have to look for different ways to do that. If it's too cold for you to go outside or it's hard for you to walk outside, I want you to jump on the interwebs. Go into YouTube and type in yoga for multiple sclerosis, and you'll be amazed at what you find. There are plenty of awesome exercises that you can do in your living room while watching YouTube for free. And so check that out. I challenge you to get in exercise just twice a week, maybe once on the weekends and once on a Wednesday evening. It doesn't have to be a daily thing, particularly if you're starting from not exercising. Let's ease into it, but you can do it. Number 5, I've talked about on this channel before. I challenge you to video chat a loved one or a friend, and I actually challenge you to do it once a day. This mental health crisis is in part because we are socially isolated. We're told to be socially isolated, to quarantine and shelter in our homes and not to interact with our communities. And that's a really good idea to limit viral spread, but it's a really rough thing to have to deal with when we're at risk of social isolation and the depression that's associated. So if you can jump on the interwebs and you can video chat your mom or your dad or your cousin or your grandma or your old college roommate or somebody, even just for a few minutes, I think that you'll find something remarkable. You feel that connection. You feel that sense of community, and it's empowering. It's energizing, and I literally want you to do it once a day. Try it out. Number 6 is to practice some form of stress management on a daily basis. I'm talking about carving out 5 minutes out of your life to close your eyes and do some controlled breathing, or to go through some meditation, or to go ahead and do a little yoga. I'm challenging you to spend some time to center yourself and practice mindfulness. If you can do that for 5 minutes a day, you'll notice a marked impact. Try it out, please. Number 7 is to practice gratitude. Practicing gratitude is simply acknowledging and recognizing wonderful things that people do for you. It could be something as simple as opening up a door for you and you taking the time to say thank you. It can be something like thanking your spouse for having made a meal for your family. Spend some active time telling people thank you for things that they do for you, and notice the small things. All too often in our busy lives, we're rushing around and we don't pause. And taking time to saying thank you is a really great way to do that. If that's not something that you actively practice, I'd like you to try it out, and I think you'll be really surprised at what it does for you, saying thank you. Number 8 is to consider talking to a trained listener. This is something that we could all benefit from. In Western culture, it's not okay to talk about how you feel and to spend a lot of time talking about your emotions, which is horrible. We don't have an avenue or an outlet to process how we feel outside of talking to a trained listener. If you can identify a social worker, a counselor, a PsyD, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a rabbi, a priest, somebody who you can sit with and share your feelings and use them as a sounding board, something really remarkable will happen because they're not intimately involved in your life. They are objective. And when you say, I'm sad, they don't feel an emotion the way that your spouse or your friend does. They nod and say, tell me about being sad. And it creates an opportunity for you to process, to understand where your emotions are coming from, and to find ways of breaking cycles and find ways of overcoming stress and anxiety. It's really, really powerful. Number 9 is to consider an antidepressant. There is a lot of benefit to taking an antidepressant. I talk about it a lot on this channel, and I want to give you every tool available to thrive despite this mental health crisis. If you are feeling sad and blue, if you are having trouble controlling your anxiety, talk to your provider. Talk about taking an antidepressant, or if you're on one and it's not adequate, talk about augmenting it or increasing it. This is an important discussion, and it's a very powerful way that we can help. Lastly, number 10 is a rough one. I challenge you, I double dog dare you to take a 1-week break from social media and the news. Right now, we are inundated by information, and a lot of it is politicized, and a lot of it is charged, and a lot of it's negative, and it weighs on us. And I believe that if you take a break for a week and put down Facebook and put down the local news, you will find that you center yourself and that you feel better. There's scary data that spending time in contributes to making you sad. And I challenge you to try the opposite. Step away for a week and see what happens. If you'd like more tricks and tips on how to live your best life despite having MS, check out the playlist that's on the screen right now. My name's Aaron Boster, and I want to thank you for learning about MS with me. I want to thank you for spending a few minutes talking about the coronavirus mental health crisis, why we're dealing with it, and 10 things that we can do to try to overcome.